Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday. Almost the end of January. Happy Thursday. Hope you all are doing very, very well. Hola, hola, Felix. How are you? How you doing? Thank you for the repost. Appreciate it. Do you hold any silver? 47 is the gold-silver ratio. It's going to be not a super long stream. I'm going to try to take my daughter skiing today. See how the lines are. We don't have huge hills here, but silver and gold continue to pump amidst the craziness. Little update here. This is kind of tongue-in-cheek because I really don't care about the gold or silver multiple, but I know it's important for the gold and silver industry. So the gold-silver ratio, this was year-end 60. It is now 47. All right, 47, which is very close to here. Very close to there. Better than that. All right, the lower this is, the more valuable silver is to gold. The higher, the more valuable gold is to silver. I had a sort of a tongue-in-cheek trend, 500-year trend here. 500-year trend, which obviously is just, like I said, tongue-in-cheek, wasn't really trending this way at the time. But if you do the 500-year trend, we're right at it. But it's probably not the real trend, right? Because as you see, silver was depegged from a lot of the biometallic standards that existed until the late 1800s. But just doing it from 1969, it's quite interesting. You don't have a great R squared, in fact, only 38%. But isn't that a, let's take this off, isn't that an interesting trend? This screams, gold bugs, but who's to tell? Maybe the AI revolution, renaissance, whatever we're calling it, will bring some gusto back to the silver market. I just don't know enough about gold and silver to tell you it's going. What I can tell you for sure is, with almost certainty, is even if it goes to 15 to 1, it's not going to stay there. All right. And the reason that I think it's going to be like that is because if you look at this, which is the mining multiple, look at this red line. It's already 9. So what that says is silver is already outproduced more than its historical ratio of 15, 16, 17, 18 to 1. Good morning, Daniel. But it's fun. It's heady days for our gold and silver friends. I could start a multiple maybe here, or a trend line here. We could look at it tomorrow. It's gonna do fun stuff, both this month end and next few months, right? So this month end should be pretty close to this black line. And the silver bugs are happy. Yeah, I did see that actually. have to get more charts up for you guys to show. This would be fun relative to Bitcoin. So we're nearly $100 a pound on uranium, which is pretty close to the 2024 levels. And way back to the early 2010s, late 2000s as well. That got to like 150. I think it got even higher, didn't it? I don't have as much data, but yeah. Pretty fun to watch. The commodity bulls and bears are back at it. Bid-ask spread being ever so slowly pulled higher every day. Let's look at the most interesting one for Bitcoin amidst the craziness, which of course is going to be Bitcoin silver. And with Bitcoin silver, as you might expect, Bitcoin looks cheaper and cheaper every day. Went from 700. Wait a second. I keep forgetting. This one I don't have actual on the day. Sorry. I have it with different ones, but I have it with the dollar. So yesterday we closed 784. Let's just do the calc because I have to do it. Unless someone wants to tell me in the chat. Bitcoin silver multiple. Let's say 87.8 divided by a whopping 117. 750. 750. So today is already 30 ounces cheaper. Your Bitcoin price, come and get it. 750 ounces of silver for one Bitcoin. Let's look at silver dollar. I got to get the daily, always updated on Bitcoin silver. For yeah, 117 right now is the current price. And to break this record, it needs to hit 118 by the next 2 days. I presume it will do it. Question is, what does this look like on February 28th? Are we ripping higher next month, or is that the top? Forgive me, silver friends, but I'm always quite skeptical of these blow-offs. So to get back to the 9 back in 1980, it took 2 months, right? Happened in January 1980. On a monthly close. I know intraday it was higher, but on a monthly close, $42 down to 20. $42 down to 20 in 1980. This was kind of interesting, I guess. We talked about this yesterday. So this did take 2 years. Possible we repeat that. Very exciting for the gold, silver, uranium bugs, as you say, Felix. You know, funny thing is, just big picture. Look, here's China, right? So uranium, industrial, partly industrial. Uh, well, definitely industrial, sort of commodity. We're still in this consolidation phase for actual money. Right? This is probably, I mean, this is for sure there's going to be a dip. As you know, I'm going to be pretty slow on updating these. I'll show you the individual countries. But here I got China now at the bottom of this. And even China, of course, this is dollar strength as well, but China had 4.8 trillion here back in 2015. Now they have 5.4. So some steady growth. They're also sacking their generals. Everybody is losing their collective mind around the world. You know, it still is interesting to me that, you know, gold is pumping and silver. They're pumping at times where really it's not monetary based expansion. Right? Perhaps everybody's thinking that they will get this expansion this year. Although we got the news yesterday that Powell was going to be soft. Not soft, but not dovish, let's say, on cutting more rates for as little time as he has left. So, though it's a lagging indicator and can't exactly time things with money printing, I'd say it's still interesting that gold and silver are ripping so hard right now. And if you look at a chart like this, perhaps not out of the ordinary, or really a chart like this, right? When it runs, it runs. It can take decades to set up these bulls, but when it happens, as we've been saying, very happy for all you silver bugs, but all I can say is caution. So we looked at Japan, or sorry, we looked at China. Certainly, you know, again, I'm not looking at this from sort of the hardcore Bitcoiner point of view. I'm just saying who is holding their value as a society, as a state, their money. China has a lot of U.S. treasuries, even Japanese treasuries, and European treasuries. Let's look at Japan. Same chart. The poor Japanese have been printing for a long time. Started a lot of easing here, even. Although you can't really see it with the dollar. If this was in yen, you would see more pumps than you actually see. Peaked it here at 6 trillion in value, and now people are asking where the demand will come for JGBs. Bitcoin price rose nicely in a period where there was, you know, actually, I need to get an easy way to show you this in native versus dollars. That would be better. Because there was more printing with Japan relative to the others, but the yen just keeps losing value against the dollar. Here's the dollar, the numeraire. So what you see is in fact what they print. Same deal. We've gone now 4 full years. 4 full years in a consolidation. Bitcoin still goes up. If we look at, say, silver back in 2021, no, sorry. All right, there was a little bit of a rip here. But not nearly as much of a rip as Bitcoin. So I get why people are saying it's sort of this overdue bull. But you know, even with Bitcoin, against any asset, like put it against silver, when you have these big runs, it just doesn't stay there. It's just what happens. Bulls and bears meet, buying gets exhausted, and you have to come back down. I hope you guys are finding this as interesting as I do, because just something we're gonna have to keep tracking. Specifically this. $784 yesterday, $750 right now. I know it's not on the chart, but every day, cheaper and cheaper Bitcoin if you own silver or gold. It's wild. So, you know, even Bitcoin, when it goes above that 90th percentile, happens fast, right? Took 2 months up, 2 months down, then a dead cat bounce, down again. So in Bitcoin's case, usually, you know, here it didn't even really hit the 9. It did, but barely. You know, weeks and months when you get into these danger zones. I have a hard time believing it's going to be much different for silver and gold this time. You know, this is the thing I like about these stats, right? Because even though if, you know, people always say it's a great revaluation or whatever, and look, if somehow they decide to remonetize silver, which I highly doubt, then yeah, you could gain big if you hold some ounces. But you know, even if you called all of this as sort of like a lost period, and here's trying to get back, and here now it's on a new trajectory, Again, this is still 3%. So maybe this, this is going to go to 6% per year, maybe. But I don't see it going to 20% per year, 30% per year. As bad as all the sort of money printing in the world is, that's not the rate of growth of the monetary base. And indeed, the monetary base is falling for the last 5 years. Yes, it's turning around this quarter, but hard to square the pure euphoria. Good morning, John. Yeah, that's where I'm at. And even Bitcoin, as you guys know, I'm sort of anti-newsletter, but Bitcoiners love the hype more than anyone. Pull this up here. Yep. How much gold does Tether have? 4 million, something like that. I'll come back to that idea. But again, we have so much data. All right, November, topped in late November. So it's like a month, and then 3 months. Sorry. Before we looked at it in silver. Now I'm looking in dollars. Same thing. 2 months up. Dead cat bounce, back up. 2-3 months down. Let me pull the ounces chart up to show you how much ounces people have. People as in governments, central banks. Good morning. It really is amazing what Tether did. It's from an opaque market of, quasi bailing out Bitfinex to now buying all this gold. It is pretty incredible. So here are the stashes. Yeah, let me just take the big countries out. So I'll leave Russia, even India might not be. No, India's got more. China's got to go. Germany, France got to go. Italy's got to go. I'll leave. Yeah, I'll take it. All right. Switzerland, Russia, even though they're just bonkers right now. And Netherlands for sure has to go. Who else? Japan has to go. This is sort of the realm that Tether is achieving right now. No small feat. If they're at 4 or 5 million ounces, yeah, pretty incredible. From from basically printing tokens to having Bitfinex liabilities on their balance sheet to now having gold and Bitcoin and bonds. It's quite the enterprise. Here we see Norway, even though they have multi-trillion-dollar sovereign wealth fund, which we should revisit, has no more gold. Argentina has a little, surprisingly. Canada also sold their gold. And the United Kingdom, which is this red one, sold a lot of gold here. Gordon Brown sold it when the price was at like pretty much all-time lows, decade lows. But yeah, it's pretty wild. Tether's in the realm of something like here, 4 or 5. They'll probably they could get up to 10 million ounces. More than Argentina, about the same as Sweden. Not as much as Poland used to have. This is how much gold Tether has. Pretty incredible. I think they already have they not? Took them like 10 years, but I think they got most of it back in the 2010s, 2000 and 2010s. We can see what craziness Gemini tells me. Okay, they don't. Still 30%, 37% in the Federal Reserve of New York and 12% in Bank of England. Interesting. I thought they got most of it back. They should call it. If I were them, I would be calling it every month. Let's put on Germany. By the way, just for scale, Poland, Sweden, Argentina, Canada is gone, but just to show you, they're at 0. Germany. So 50 million ounces. So 40, 45 million ounces are still with the Fed. And 15 million ounces are with the Bank of England, apparently. If you haven't read Chasing Gold by George Tabor, please do. It's wild to me that we're at like serious war on the borders of Europe, and then gold is flowing back into Europe when it left Europe 80 years ago. Honestly, one of my favorite gold books. Focuses on what the Nazis did, but the Soviets stole a lot of gold too. Soviets and Nazis traded gold. And really, when this also has a lot of uh, similarities to Russia. Like Russia's ruble has mostly tanked, although some they strengthen it by basically fully monetizing the debt, um, which is somewhat worked for them. They're still well worse than they were even when when Putin started the invasion. Um, but in 1939, 1940, the Reichsmark became completely worthless in the West. England wasn't going to trade it. France, obviously, America. All of Northern Europe was occupied, but they weren't going to trade with it. So the gold trade in Switzerland is famous, of course. Yeah, I think they should take it back, basically, to answer your question. Yeah, pretty wild. Somewhere in the realm of this. It really is, money, it really is a first mover market, right? The Cantillon effect. I think this is the correct way to say it, Cantillon effect, which is originally, he was talking about gold. Is whoever's closest to gold basically does the best, and whoever's closest to the Tether tokens also does well. It's the best business in the world. The best business in the world. That's why Trump wants in. USD1. I need to get this in the new database, by the way. So here's Trump's token. He's trying to get some of that Cantor Fitzgerald profits that Lutnick is taking. This was like a couple months ago, 1 billion. Now it's 5 billion. Controlled by the family. When you're the president of the United States, why would you not be in this business? Yeah. This is, 1960s, 1970s for sure. Uh, Hopefully we don't devolve into 1930s, as I keep talking about, but this is for sure 1960s, 1970s. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. We see how cagey they've been with even releasing the Epstein files. Um, the gold secrets of the United States are way more important than that. They've talked about taking some of that gold, revaluing it at market, and then buying Bitcoin. No one knows. Follow GATA. Follow GATA there if you want more. I'm sure you've seen it, John. They do have some wild research on how much gold, perhaps, the U.S. government has sold. Unlike what it says here, obviously the conspiracies are rampant, whether they even have it. Germany, 37% of Germany's stash is in America. This is America's stash, 260 million ounces. Also, America controls this. Kind of that, but not as much. 80% of all of this gold, which was honestly about the same level, um, because this was much higher actually in the 60s. A little bit less, perhaps, but it's 1.2 billion ounces. This is not world, but it's getting pretty close. It's you see, it's like a million there. I need the total, but it's this is almost all of the central bank gold. 1.2 billion ounces. It was probably 1.1, and 80% of that was in America by 1940, and that set up the gold dollar Bretton Woods standard. Does seem like it's unwinding. Quickly. Yeah. I need to chart. Do you get that from the Fed or the Treasury? The Fed has that? I should add that to the database. I'll keep saying it every episode, but you guys will have access to this soon. I'm just setting it up in a way that makes sense for everybody. Um, I haven't looked here in a while. It's not even doing it the right way. So it's crazy how small the value of central bank money was, during the war. 40, 50 billion. This is not all encompassing from back in these days, and this doesn't include Germany, which had a lot of gold at the time. Where's Bitcoin dollar? Do I have it? I don't know about you guys, but I feel quite confident with the precious metals bull. It's very hard to believe that with such interest back into sound money, eventually, Bitcoin doesn't find its footing. Thank you, John. Thanks for the comments. What did I want to say here? I'm so scattered these days with so much different charts. We're talking about the metals bull. Oh, right. So I talked to Marty. His show will be airing the interview that I did on Saturday, I believe, if you want to check that out. And TFTC. He said he bet Odell that Bitcoin would make an all-time high this year in gold and silver terms. Marty took the other side, the under on that, which I would agree. You know, again, this is a perfect example of probabilities here. Like, okay, 2021, Bitcoin's at record highs versus silver. Now, record lows. Do I think Bitcoin will, has a possibility to do quite well this year? Yes. Do I think it goes back to the red line on the top? No. Even with a major pop, even with a major pop in that bubble, I don't think we go back to like below the black line, right? I don't think this year we see below $24 gold. No way. Although I totally think we could see maybe, one of these levels, which are quite lower than the current price, right? $48, number 9 is 2x the trend. 34, 28, 20. I mean, 30 to 40, $50, all totally possible by year end. But in terms of Bitcoin, I would say that looks quite doubtful that it's going to get back to. And look at the numbers, by the way. This is, again, where the statistics are interesting. So where it is right now, if it stays there at that level, considering, the power trend grows, that's 1,000 ounces on the all-time low by year end. 15,000 ounces, 14, 15,000 on the 90th percentile. That's hard to believe. Bitcoin could, reach such a turnaround this year. Yeah, no problem. Good question. I didn't even know. I thought they got it all back. 50% still. I mean, Americans aren't doing themselves any favors these days, so I hope they get it back. Great book, guys. I know I keep talking about it, but it's really a great book. If you like stuff I'm talking about, you like monetary history, gold history, really, really interesting. So yeah, I mean, I'm not a bombastic forecaster, but if we know that this number is going to turn around, and it is, right? This 26 trillion could very well be back to 27, 28 trillion by the end of the year, especially if Trump gets his way. Eventually, we don't know for sure, but eventually this lines up and it's good for Bitcoin. More money printed, higher prices. I would say this is going to be super interesting, even though I don't follow this chart much at all, but so what did I say? 47? Yeah, 47 is the current number. Gold silver ratio. It's going to test one of these levels. 19, 19, 15, 15, 16. But as I was saying a lot yesterday, I have a very hard time believing that it goes down to that level and then stays there. That's not been the trend. Even with this funny 500-year trend, it's not the trend. This is when the US government exited silver. Which is funny that it peaked here. And after they exited, went back, gold gets stronger. So yeah, I think it's going to be it for me today, guys. I had to do a quick stream. Going to take my daughter skiing. But I would say just strap in. Congrats if you're a precious metals holder. I know all of you are Bitcoin holders. I'm tending to get more bullish Bitcoin with these precious metal, just crazy news that comes out day in and day out. It's hard to imagine that Bitcoin doesn't, at least hold a little bit of those gains by the coattails, because those markets are just rocketing. So with that, I'm going to close it for today, guys. Thank you all. Let me know, send me emails, whatever, info@porkopolis.io or info@cryptovoices.com if you want to see any different charts. I got more stuff coming, I promised. And we can watch this madness together. So thank you for watching. Everybody have a great day.